Hospitals are sacred places, places of hope, healing, and the promise of safety for the most vulnerable among us. At Henrico Doctors Hospital in Richmond, Virginia, families placed their newborns in the hands of skilled professionals, trusting that every moment would be guided by care, compassion, and a duty to protect. But beneath the gentle hum of monitors and the reassuring presence of white-coated professionals, an unimaginable shadow began to take form. It started with whispers among staff, vague concerns dismissed as misunderstandings or accidents. But as the weeks passed, those whispers grew louder, more insistent, until the truth could no longer be ignored. A baby, delicate and frail, was found to have suffered a fracture, a break that defied explanation, a break that no parent or doctor could comprehend. Then another, and another. In a setting designed to nurture life, a series of unexplained injuries to the most fragile patients sent shockwaves through the hospital. Behind the sterile walls of Henrico Doctors' NICU, a devastating question arose. Could one of their own, a trusted nurse, be responsible? At the center of the unfolding nightmare was Erin Elizabeth Ann Strotman, a 26-year-old nurse from Chesterfield County, now accused of inflicting harm in the very place where she was sworn to care. What could have led to this betrayal of trust? What darkness could drive someone entrusted with the lives of infants to allegedly shatter that trust in the most profound way? As investigators began piecing together the disturbing puzzle, the serene facade of Henrico Doctors Hospital cracked, revealing a story of heartbreak, suspicion, and unanswered questions that left a community reeling. We unravel the shocking details of the case that gripped Richmond and ask, how could this happen? How could a guardian of life become the alleged cause of so much pain? This is the story of Erin Elizabeth Ann Strotman, the nurse accused of breaking baby's bone at Henrico Doctors Hospital, and the haunting legacy of a case that defies understanding. In Richmond, Virginia, Henrico Doctors Hospital has earned a reputation as one of the most trusted healthcare institutions in the region. For decades, it has stood as a beacon of hope, a place where cutting-edge technology and compassionate care come together to serve the community. Families across Virginia turn to Henrico Doctors Hospital for everything from routine medical care to life-saving procedures, confident in its ability to provide world-class treatment. Its neonatal intensive care unit, or NICU, is one of the hospital's crown jewels. Designed to care for premature and critically ill infants, the NICU is a specialized environment where the stakes are unimaginably high. Every nurse and doctor in the unit understands the gravity of their work. The lives of the most vulnerable patients rest in their hands. From the hum of life-sustaining monitors to the careful, deliberate movements of medical staff, every detail is meticulously managed to create a sanctuary for fragile newborns. One of the nurses trusted with this responsibility was 26-year-old Erin Elizabeth Ann Strotman. A native of Chesterfield County, Erin was a recent graduate of ECPI University in Richmond, where she earned her nursing degree and pursued her passion for neonatal care. Described by colleagues as quiet and hard-working, she was known for her meticulous attention to detail and her ability to remain calm under pressure. A vital trait in the fast-paced, high-stakes world of the NICU. Erin received her nursing license on May 30, 2019, and quickly secured a position at Henrico Doctors Hospital. She seemed to embody the ideals of her profession: diligence, compassion, and a deep commitment to the well-being of her patients. For parents entrusting their newborns to the NICU, nurses like Erin represented more than just caregivers. They were lifelines, offering reassurance during one of the most vulnerable times in their lives. But behind the serene facade of Henrico Doctors Hospital, a disturbing series of events was beginning to unfold. On the surface, it was just another day in the NICU, a day filled with feeding schedules, delicate medical procedures, and constant monitoring. Yet, for one infant, this day would mark the beginning of a nightmare that no parent could have foreseen. The NICU is a place where every second counts, where even the smallest mistake can have devastating consequences. That's why the discovery of an unexplained injury to an infant sent shockwaves through the unit. A fractured bone, an injury inconsistent with the careful handling expected in such a controlled environment, raised immediate questions. Who could have caused such harm? And how could this happen in a place designed to protect the most vulnerable lives? As news of the injury spread through the hospital, the staff was left reeling. Nurses and doctors who had spent their careers ensuring the safety of their patients now found themselves under scrutiny. The once familiar rhythm of the NICU was disrupted by whispers of doubt and the looming presence of an internal investigation. For Erin Strotman, the day began like any other. She arrived at work on time, donned her scrubs, and prepared for her shift in the NICU. There was no indication that this would be the day her life and the lives of those around her would change forever. As the investigation unfolded, every action she took, every decision she made would be called into question. The trust that had once been her greatest asset was now the subject of intense scrutiny. In the hours that followed, hospital administrators and law enforcement officials began piecing together the events that led to the infant's injury. Their findings would reveal a story that was both shocking and heartbreaking. A story that would challenge everything the community thought they knew about Henrico Doctors Hospital, about Erin Strotman, and about the fragile line between care and harm. Stay with us as we unravel the layers of this shocking case. You won't believe the twists we uncover. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. November 10th, 2024 began like any other day in the NICU at Henrico Doctors Hospital. The unit was a place of controlled chaos where every movement was deliberate and every decision carried weight. Among the tiny patients in the NICU was a 5-month-old baby boy. Born prematurely, he had faced numerous hurdles in his young life, but had shown remarkable resilience. His parents, who visited him regularly, found comfort in the knowledge that their child was in the care of highly trained medical professionals who dedicated their lives to protecting the most vulnerable. On that day, the baby was under the care of Erin Elizabeth Ann Strotman, a 26-year-old registered nurse with a reputation for being attentive and precise. Erin's responsibilities included routine handling, feeding, and monitoring the baby's vitals, as well as ensuring he remained comfortable and stable. To her colleagues, Erin appeared composed and capable, someone they could rely on to handle even the most challenging cases. The NICU, though small, was a world unto itself, a place where time seemed to stand still and every detail mattered. Nurses worked in quiet harmony, monitoring the fragile infants who depended on them for survival. On the surface, it was a typical day filled with the usual challenges of caring for premature newborns. But for one infant, this day would take a catastrophic turn that no one could have anticipated. At approximately 11:30 a.m., Erin began her routine care for the infant. Surveillance footage would later capture these moments, providing a window into what unfolded next. Erin lifted the baby from his incubator, a standard procedure performed countless times in the NICU. But what should have been a gentle and nurturing act soon turned into something horrifying. According to court documents, Erin was observed placing undue pressure on the baby's legs. She pressed them downward with a force that was inconsistent with routine care, bending the baby's legs backward until his feet nearly touched his head. The infant's cries, sharp and anguished, echoed through the unit, but the actions continued, culminating in a moment of unimaginable pain. Moments later, Erin was seen manipulating the infant's right leg with unnatural force. Staff members noted that the baby's leg appeared stiff and unresponsive compared to the left. This unusual observation prompted immediate medical attention. A physician was called to examine the baby, and the initial findings were alarming. An X-ray confirmed the presence of fractures, raising more questions than answers. The discovery of the injury sent ripples of shock through the NICU. Nurses and doctors, who had dedicated their lives to protecting and nurturing the most vulnerable, were suddenly faced with an unthinkable reality. How could such harm have occurred in a controlled environment where every precaution was in place to prevent it? Hospital administrators launched an immediate investigation, reviewing protocols and interviewing staff members to determine how such a breach in care could have happened. As the investigation unfolded, news of the injury reached the infant's parents. They arrived at the hospital that afternoon, their hearts heavy with fear but unaware of the full extent of the situation. For them, the NICU had always been a place of hope, a sanctuary where their baby was cared for by skilled and compassionate professionals. The revelation of their child's injuries shattered that trust in an instant. The parents listened in disbelief as doctors explained the nature of their baby's injuries. A fractured femur, they were told, is not an injury that occurs without significant force. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. The mother broke into tears, clutching her baby tightly, while the father stood motionless, his face pale and drawn. Their worst fears had been realized. Someone they had trusted to care for their child had allegedly caused him harm. In the days that followed, the infant's family began to grapple with the enormity of what had happened. Their world, once defined by the hope of recovery, was now consumed by questions, fear, and a profound sense of betrayal. The trust they had placed in Henrico Doctors Hospital and its staff was irrevocably broken, and the fight for justice was only beginning. The shocking discovery of fractures in a premature infant under the care of Erin Elizabeth Ann Strotman sent ripples of disbelief and urgency throughout Henrico Doctors Hospital. Known for its impeccable reputation, the hospital now faced a critical juncture, unraveling the truth behind an incident that threatened to erode the trust it had built with the community over decades. In the hours following the discovery, the hospital's leadership initiated an internal investigation with unparalleled thoroughness. Administrators called an emergency meeting, bringing together department heads, risk management officials, and legal advisors. Every aspect of the NICU's operations was placed under a microscope. From staff schedules and patient records to equipment maintenance logs, nothing was overlooked. Central to this review was the surveillance footage from the NICU, a critical piece of evidence that would either confirm or refute suspicions. Investigators meticulously combed through hours of recordings, focusing on the moments when Erin was seen interacting with the injured infant. The footage provided chilling clarity. Erin's actions during her shift were captured in stark detail, showing deviations from standard protocols that no experienced nurse should have made. The video revealed Erin placing excessive pressure on the infant's legs, bending them backward in a way that defied the gentle care required in neonatal handling. These actions, recorded without ambiguity, painted a harrowing picture of the events leading up to the injury. Each moment of the recording was analyzed frame by frame, leaving no room for doubt about the severity of the incident. But surveillance footage alone wasn't enough to construct a complete narrative. The hospital enlisted the expertise of forensic medical specialists to provide an in-depth analysis of the infant's injuries. Pediatric orthopedists and trauma experts examined X-rays and medical reports, comparing the fracture patterns to known cases of accidental and non-accidental trauma. Their findings were unequivocal. The force required to cause such fractures could not have occurred during routine care. It was, they concluded, consistent with intentional harm. Additionally, forensic biomechanical experts were consulted to reconstruct the possible scenarios that could have led to the injury. Using advanced modeling techniques, they simulated the forces applied to the infant's limbs. The data aligned with the surveillance footage, corroborating the hypothesis of deliberate action rather than an accidental mishap. As the evidence mounted, Erin Strotman became the focal point of the investigation. Her personnel records were reviewed in detail, revealing a relatively unremarkable career. No prior disciplinary actions or formal complaints had been filed against her, which only deepened the mystery. How could someone with no history of misconduct be implicated in such a grievous act? Erin's demeanor during the initial investigation was described as calm but uncooperative. When questioned by hospital administrators, she provided vague responses and denied any wrongdoing. Her refusal to acknowledge the evidence against her raised suspicions further. To law enforcement, Erin maintained her innocence, claiming that the injuries could have been caused by a combination of pre-existing conditions and accidental handling. The hospital also reviewed its internal protocols, seeking to identify any systemic failures that may have contributed to the incident. Staff training sessions, procedural checklists, and supervision standards were scrutinized. While no immediate deficiencies were found, administrators acknowledged that the case underscored the need for heightened vigilance and accountability within the NICU. Meanwhile, Henrico County law enforcement took over the criminal investigation. Erin Strotman was arrested on January 3, 2025, and charged with malicious wounding and felony child abuse. The arrest came after a detailed review of the evidence, which included the surveillance footage, medical reports, and expert testimonies. As news of her arrest spread, the community was left grappling with a mixture of outrage and disbelief. The arrest marked a turning point in the investigation, but questions still lingered. What could have driven Erin to allegedly harm an innocent infant? Was this an isolated incident or part of a larger pattern yet to be uncovered? The search for answers became a race against time, with hospital administrators and law enforcement determined to uncover the full scope of the truth. For the infant's family, the investigation was both a source of hope and a reminder of their anguish. While they awaited justice, they were forced to relive the trauma of the incident through every new piece of evidence brought to light. The road ahead is long, but their resolve to seek accountability never wavered. In the early hours of January 3, 2025, Henrico County Police arrested 26-year-old Erin Elizabeth Ann Strootman at her residence in Chesterfield County. The arrest followed a meticulous investigation into a series of unexplained fractures sustained by infants in the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, NICU, at Henrico Doctors Hospital, where Strootman had been employed as a registered nurse. Strootman was charged with 2 felonies, malicious wounding and child abuse resulting in serious injury. Under Virginia law, malicious wounding is defined as the intentional and malicious infliction of bodily injury with the intent to maim, disfigure, disable, or kill. This charge carries a potential sentence of up to 20 years in prison. The child abuse charge pertains to any willful act or omission in the care of a child that results in serious injury, carrying a maximum penalty of 10 years imprisonment. During the arraignment on January 3, 2025, the prosecution presented evidence obtained from surveillance footage within the NICU. The footage allegedly depicts Strootman applying excessive pressure to the legs of a 5-month-old premature infant, actions that medical experts assert are consistent with the fractures diagnosed in the child. The arrest and subsequent charges against Strootman elicited a wave of reactions from both the hospital administration and the public. Henrico Doctors Hospital issued a statement expressing profound shock and sadness, emphasizing their commitment to patient safety and cooperation with the ongoing investigation. The hospital also announced the suspension of new admissions to the NICU and the implementation of enhanced safety measures, including comprehensive reviews of staff protocols and increased surveillance. Public reaction was a mixture of outrage, disbelief, and a demand for accountability. Families of the affected infants, some of whom attended the arraignment, expressed deep emotional turmoil. Dominique Hackey, whose son Noah suffered a fractured leg while in the NICU in 2023, shared his distress, stating, "I'm overwhelmed with emotions. I can't put my hand on just one. I couldn't help but to just break down." Such sentiments echoed throughout the community as trust in the healthcare system was profoundly shaken. In response to the charges, Strootman was assigned court-appointed attorney Scott Cardani. During the arraignment, Strootman appeared via video link and was held without bond. She indicated that she was unaware of her termination from the hospital, stating she was still receiving pay during the week of Thanksgiving in 2024. To date, neither Strootman nor her legal counsel has issued a public statement regarding the allegations. Legal analysts suggest that her defense may explore alternative explanations for the injuries, such as pre-existing medical conditions or potential mishandling by other staff members. As the legal process unfolds, the case of Erin Elizabeth Ann Strootman serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities inherent in healthcare settings. It underscores the imperative for rigorous oversight, transparent investigations, and unwavering accountability to ensure the safety and well-being of the most defenseless among us. The arrest of Erin Elizabeth Ann Strootman, a former nurse at Henrico Doctors Hospital on charges of malicious wounding and felony child abuse, sent shockwaves through the Richmond community and beyond. Media coverage was swift and extensive, with major news organizations detailing the allegations and the ongoing investigation. Advocacy groups and healthcare professionals also weighed in, emphasizing the need for systemic reforms to prevent such incidents. Discussions emerged about the adequacy of monitoring mechanisms in hospitals, the psychological evaluation of healthcare workers, and the protocols for reporting and addressing suspicions of abuse. The case sparked broader debates about trust in medical professionals and the healthcare system at large. Communities questioned how such alleged abuses could occur undetected and what measures were in place to safeguard patients, especially the most vulnerable. The hospital's decision to halt new admissions to the NICU and implement enhanced safety measures was seen as a necessary step, but for many, it also highlighted the gravity of the oversight lapses. Henrico County Police addressed the public's concerns, urging caution against the spread of misinformation. They clarified that initial investigations did not support claims circulating on social media about the targeting of infants based on race. Authorities emphasized the importance of relying on verified information as the investigation proceeded. As the legal process unfolded, the community remained on edge, seeking assurance that justice would be served and that measures would be implemented to prevent future occurrences. The case of Erin Elizabeth Ann Strootman became a catalyst for introspection within the healthcare industry, prompting a reevaluation of policies, training, and the fundamental trust placed in those who care for society's most vulnerable. As the investigation into the unsettling incidents at Henrico Doctors Hospital's Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, NICU, progressed, unexpected revelations began to surface, adding layers of complexity to an already distressing case. In January 2025, the Virginia Department of Health, VDH, released a report shedding light on procedural lapses within the hospital. The report indicated that in 2023, Henrico Doctors Hospital failed to report suspicions of abuse concerning 4 premature infants who had sustained unexplained fractures. According to state regulations, such suspicions must be reported within 24 hours. However, the hospital delayed this mandatory reporting, thereby compromising timely intervention and investigation. Further scrutiny revealed that during the 2023 incidents, the hospital did not maintain comprehensive records of staff interactions with NICU patients. Specifically, there was a lack of documentation identifying which staff members accompanied infants for laboratory procedures. This oversight hindered the ability to trace and monitor staff-patient interactions, potentially obscuring accountability. These procedural deficiencies prompted the Virginia Department of Health to place the hospital's NICU license on conditional renewal status, mandating immediate corrective actions to address the identified shortcomings. Concurrently, the legal proceedings against Erin Elizabeth Ann Strootman experienced significant developments. On January 3, 2025, Strootman was arraigned on charges of malicious wounding and felony child abuse. During the hearing, the prosecution presented surveillance footage from November 2024, allegedly depicting Strootman applying excessive pressure to a premature infant's legs, actions consistent with the fractures diagnosed. Strootman's defense attorney, Scott Cardani, challenged the admissibility of the footage, citing concerns over its authenticity and the context of the recorded interactions. The defense also suggested alternative explanations for the injuries, including potential pre-existing medical conditions inherent in premature infants. Amid these proceedings, the hospital faced mounting public scrutiny. Advocacy groups and affected families demanded transparency and accountability, leading to intensified media coverage and public discourse on patient safety and institutional responsibility. In response, Henrico Doctors Hospital implemented several corrective measures, including mandatory in-person safety training for all NICU caregivers, enhanced surveillance protocols, and the suspension of new NICU admissions to focus on internal improvements. The case of Erin Elizabeth Ann Strootman not only highlighted individual accountability, but also underscored systemic issues within healthcare institutions. It served as a catalyst for broader discussions on safeguarding protocols, the imperative of timely reporting, and the mechanisms necessary to uphold the sanctity of patient care. The case of Erin Elizabeth Ann Strootman remains an unfolding narrative marked by unanswered questions and lingering heartbreak. As of now, no verdict has been reached, and the legal proceedings continue to delve into the evidence, seeking clarity in a situation that has left the community shaken. For the families affected, the wait for justice feels endless, each day marked by a mix of hope and sorrow. This case has forced many to confront uncomfortable truths about the vulnerabilities within healthcare systems. How could such an incident occur in a place that represents care and healing? Are current safeguards enough to prevent harm, or do they fall short of ensuring the safety of the most fragile lives entrusted to medical professionals? Henrico Doctors Hospital has implemented changes, including stricter surveillance protocols and enhanced training for NICU staff. But these measures come after the fact. The haunting question remains, could these tragedies have been prevented? Beyond the walls of the hospital, the case has ignited broader conversations about accountability and trust. For many, it is not just a story about one individual's alleged actions, but a call to reevaluate the systems and structures that allow such breaches to occur. For the public, this case raises profound ethical and emotional questions. Can trust ever be fully restored after such an event? What safeguards should be put in place to ensure this never happens again? And how do we balance accountability with the understanding that healthcare professionals operate in an environment of immense pressure and responsibility? For now, Erin Elizabeth Ann Strotman stands accused, her future hanging in the balance as the courts deliberate the evidence. The families of the injured infants continue to seek answers and healing, while the community watches closely, united in their desire for justice and reform. What do you think led to this tragic event? Should hospitals implement stricter checks and oversight to prevent similar incidents in the future? Could more robust training and accountability measures have made a difference? Most importantly, do you think justice will be served for the families whose lives have been irrevocably changed? Let us know your perspective in the comments below. Your thoughts are invaluable as we continue to explore the complexities of this case and others like it. And remember, this story is far from over. We will keep you updated with every new development as the case unfolds. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more true crime stories that uncover the hidden truths and demand answers. Together, let's shed light on the shadows and ensure that every voice is heard.